So if Apple were to make iPhones more expensive, how much would you be willing to consider? SES reports have it that Apple is looking to raise prices, but the reasoning is pretty interesting. New leaks of the base Google Pixel 8 show that it could be the Google phone that many of us want, and it seems Samsung is not having that much of a fun time with camera complaints, but has plans to sort of address them. I'm Jaime Rivera, and I think it's about time that smartphones did more for what money companies are starting to ask for them. This is Pocketnow Daily. The official news today continued to be inexistent, but let's start with Sony because we finally have information about their upcoming audio products. The company usually launches their new earbuds around every 2 years or so, and it's now time to talk about the WF-1000XM5. Sony, please. Whoever's in charge of changing your names, come on. The upcoming buds just got certified by the FCC recently, and the images reveal that they are more compact than their predecessors. And honestly, that's great because the XM4s were just too big. Inside the case, we can see that Sony moved from 2 to 3 pins for charging the buds, and it also looks like the case will be smaller than previous ones. Now, speaking of the case, it is rated for 5 volts and 230 milliamp hours, which is more than the 5 volts and 140 milliamp hours rating for the XM4s, and hopefully this will translate into faster charging. For now, we don't know much about the pricing, but the XM5s are expected to launch pretty soon. Moving on, let's talk about Samsung because it's seeming like they're preparing a new update for the cameras of the Galaxy S23 series. And in case you don't live under a rock, you probably know that the camera department is not really having a good time right now, and particularly with those debatable moonshots, which in my opinion, is just AI doing its work. I mean, grass is not as green as it comes in photos. Ice Universe reported that an update is arriving as soon as later this month with a big change for optimizing the camera. It's been reported that even with the new 200 megapixel sensor, users still experience issues with motion blur and shutter lag, and I can confirm that. The report also mentions that what Samsung could be addressing with this update may be blurred edges around the photos that some users have been complaining about as well. Sam Mobile also reported this issue and added that the camera tends to only hold sharp focus at the center of the frame, which, yeah, I know. There are certain camera lenses that do that. However, these are all speculations of what Samsung is trying to fix with this update, and I just hope this has nothing to do with all the drama caused with the debate of the moon thing, or I don't know, because these software updates, they take time, so it's not like if these last few weeks determine an update that's coming in a couple of weeks. Maybe that gets addressed later. Moving on, let's talk about Google and their upcoming Pixel 8. After the first renders of the Pro model surfaced yesterday, we now have our first look at the regular Pixel 8 thanks to a new batch of CAD renders. The images show that it won't be that different from its predecessor, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but according to the new report, the phone will actually have some minor adjustments to dimensions. It is reported that it will be 5mm shorter and 2.4mm narrower than its predecessor. Now, on the display size, we should also get changes, and it is said that it'll feature a 5.8-inch display compared to 6.3 inches diagonal on the Pixel 7. These renders also show noticeably slimmer bezels around the screen, as well as the same centered punch hole cutout. On the back, the phone seems to have once again a dual camera housing in the signature visor, the same aluminum frame, the volume and power buttons on the right side, and the USB-C port at the bottom next to the typical speaker cutout. Finally, the new series is expected to be powered by the Tensor G3 and be announced at Google I/O, which is set to kick off on May 10th. But just think about it. 5.8 inches diagonal is the same as an iPhone 14 Pro, so it could be the small phone we've been looking for. And finally, fourth, the most interesting news today. Let's talk about Apple, since we have some kind of bad news about the pricing of the iPhone 15 Pro models. According to a new report by Jeff Pu, Cupertino is planning to increase the price in the US due to several rumored hardware upgrades. He stated that the changes like the titanium frame, solid-state buttons with more haptic engines, an A17 Bionic chip, increased RAM, and the periscope lens for increased optical zoom on the Pro Max model would be the reason for the updates. The Pro model has started at $999 since the iPhone X, which I know gave us all a heart attack back in 2017, while the Pro Max has started at $1099 since the XS Max launched the following year, and yeah, a lot of people loved it. Meaning that this would be the first increase in price in a long time, and on the other hand, it's still unclear if the base and Plus models would also receive a price increase over the predecessors. But anyways, we're still months away from that. So let's see what happens. In today's question, let us know, how much would you be willing to pay for a Pro iPhone? Because in my case, I could argue with Apple, but sadly, when you have a Galaxy S23 Ultra being more expensive for the past 3 generations with aluminum, which is cheaper than the stainless steel you get on the Pro iPhones, it's kind of a tough call. If Apple were to price it at the same level of that S23 Ultra and give me titanium and a periscopic lens, I think I'd be okay with it, but that's just me. Leave us a comment down below. We'd love to know your opinion. Friends, again, if you want to get the news earlier, follow us on Pocketnow.com and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one. You can also follow us on social media. Our extended coverage happens on Instagram, and follow me on my personal handles to see me state the truth. Please give this video a thumbs up if you like what you saw. I'm Jaime Rivera. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.